every single piece of apparel that you make and that is sold in the United States must contain these 4 key information. They must have it. Okay, your label must have the fiber content. It's pretty much when you see labels and it says, okay, 90% rayon, 10% spandex. You have to tell the consumer what actually your fabric is made out of. The country of origin. You must say where it's made. And then the manufacturer or the dealer identity. You must say who you are. And then your care instructions. Super, super, super important. You need to have care instructions because people don't know, one dress, you mightn't be able to wash it. It might only require dry clean only. If you're gonna sign an agreement, don't ask your friend, cousin, auntie, somebody like, oh, could you read this over for me? You go find a lawyer somewhere. Try to let them work with you. Make sure like you're actually protected and covered, especially for people in music, that you're not signing away all your copyright, all your publishing, and you don't know. And then years later, you're wondering, how come I have all these hits and I'm not making any money?
Right.
The only way you could get something out of this is if you be truthful. So answer question 1. Most of your money is A, spent or owed to creditors, B, in the bank, C, tied up in shares, or D, dedicated to a new car or home renovations. Where is most of your money? Don't tell me. Don't tell your neighbors, you might influence the decisions. This is question 1. Most of your money is A, spent or owed to creditors, B, in the bank, C, tied up in shares or property investments, D, dedicated to a new car or home renovations. Don't overthink it. The first letter that comes to
one, and then you put answer A, B, C, or
exactly. You put answer A, B, C, or
That's why we're supposed to have a lot of content, quality content, work.
Oh my gosh. In film, that's what I gotta say, right? In film, you filmmakers have to understand this. It's all about the cinematography. It's all about the cinematography. When I sit and watch, movies, and it's the B-list movies on Amazon Prime, right? And you see, I can't get beyond the shoddy camera and looking like if I'm looking into a cell phone video. And actually my cell phone take better videos than those. Okay? The camera. I don't care if it's small, you're starting out. When I started my business, people used to tell me, they would go to my website, they'll call my office and they hear, the whole fancy autoresponder person coming on. And I've had people who know me that are my friends and go like, so how much team of people you have right now? And this was in the early days. And I digress, you Antigua people and people in the Caribbean have to up your level of game of professionalism if you want to roll with the big dogs in the US, because we're not having it. It's just like, it's not going to happen. Like, that's crazy. You cannot bring that level. And this is the small-minded thinking that will keep you on the small ass island. And I love my country, Antigua. But I'm just saying, I think sometimes our people, like people in general, the mentality, yes, we are chill and we're all about that island vibes in the Caribbean. But there is a time and place for everything. And I'm the chillest person. But when it comes to my business hustle, don't mess with my hustle, man. I'm on point. When it comes to business, it's all about business every day, all day. I'm the person that's back when I was much younger, in my 20s. I'm way past 20 now.
Because I'm going to tell you this, right, Miss Mason, that I had a lawyer who was supposed to come on, an Antiguan entertainment lawyer, but so he clash schedule, that's what happened. And one of the things he said that, as a filmmaker, it's best to go overseas and then come back. What is your take on that?
Okay. I wouldn't, and I see Dr. Martin's putting up his hand, so I know he's going to take a take on that. Because my take on that, yes, you know, being in America since I was 18 and being here for like over 20 something years, you just find out how old I am because you did the math.
I've been calculating.
Calculate numbers, man.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's great, right? Black never crack because yes, looking like I'm in my 20s. It's all right. I can tell my secret later. Yeah, but what I'm saying, right, being in America, of course, exposed me to, and being in the industry did expose me. But I think with the age of the internet, you could like find anything. I think it's a mindset, because how many people, and I know you can speak to this, Dr. Martin, too, that how many of us as Caribbean people have left our island to come to America and just start like get into the whole like, you know, entitled American mentality and don't try to do anything and just chill and don't accomplish what we set out to do. When I left Antigua, again with the goal setting, I left Antigua to like become a lawyer. And there were times when I was struggling in America with the whole crazy crisis and job thing, and we got to deal with being Black in America, and not only being Black, but Black immigrant in America.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're all immigrants anyway. And you notice like my Antiguan accent has diluted. Actually,
Nice.
I could switch in and out. I had to adopt this kind of accent because nobody understood what I was saying when I was trying to be a lawyer or when I was in school and trying to argue, and I'm a lawyer, so I talk all the time. And it's like, what are you saying? I just got tired of that.
I've gotten where you're speaking dialect. I'm like, no, I'm not speaking dialect. No, you
Yeah.
haven't. I was like, no.
Are you speaking a foreign language? If now when I'm talking to family members and they hear me speaking in dialect, so I'm just saying, right? You don't have to leave the island to actually make it, to figure out this whole, during filmmaker, like, you don't have to come over here to make the film. You could come to festivals so you develop contacts, but I don't think you necessarily have to be here in order to get that mindset, because you could come here and still do nothing. There's so many people that I know left Antigua the same time I did, and they have done nothing with their lives. And they are like, and then they try to tear you down because, you know, you had the wherewithal to hustle, to be broke, like, you know, like just to go through the struggle of being broke, of pursuing the dreams. And you know what my North Star always have been? I was like, I did not leave Antigua to come up here to be mediocre, okay?
Right.
I did not leave Antigua for that, to come up here to deal with all American taxes, their racism, all the crazy stuff, when I could be chilling on a beach, being an accountant or something in Antigua. So what I'm saying, leaving the island doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna even get to where I am or where Dr. Martin is if you don't have the right type of mindset. I think you can create that whole kind of vibe in your country if you have the right type of mindset.
But the irony of all of this is that when we're home, there's not that many opportunities, so we are more competitive. And when you come to the space where there are many opportunities, we become mediocre, right? But I think part of what he was saying too as well, the attorney, is there's a foreign is better concept that's pervasive in the Caribbean. So even if you, and it's not just in the Caribbean, it's even in small town America, they tell you, go to the big city, make your name, we'll view you differently when you come back. So that's I call it the massa complex, right? That for you to be foreign and then you come back, it's better. And that's not always the case. As you said, you could literally stay there, especially with online education and certification and training. You could travel for film festivals, etc. But I think the concept of the people in power is that foreign is still better. And that's something that we have to overcome. And it goes back to a lot of what you said is, one, you need that trade organization. So in St. Kitts, for example, they started an organization called PACE, Professional Artists, Creatives, Entertainers, some promoters, artists, creators, entertainers, something like that. And they're going through this whole process and trying to establish their identity because they need that common voice, right? And I think that's critical. But then you also, everything you just said, you have to invest in yourself. How many of these filmmakers are going to film festivals? They're regional film festivals with grant money and competitions. They have it for fashion, if you're into fashion design. They have it for music. They have all these different opportunities as well. But how many are taking that step, right? Oh, this is too expensive. Oh, I can't do that. But then how serious are you? That's why I said earlier, do you have a business? If you view yourself as a business, are you a sole proprietor? You have a little singing talent, so you monetize that for $100 a gig, right? What really are you? And you have to establish that from the jump. So everything that you said, I agree with 100%. I think there's opportunity. I know you had some other questions on your list.
Yeah. I really had to get that question up, because one of the things he also said that small islands do not monetize. That's one of the stuff he has said to me as well too. And each law of the islands within the OECS differs. So even having to get together, the filmmakers to even get together, because the laws differs within the OECS, that too can be a bit complicated.
Then you find linkages, you find partnerships in other islands. You don't need to be an expert on Antiguan law, St. Kitts, La Grenadian law, Dominican law. No, you have a strategic partner, right? If you want to enter a market space in any business in the world, you have to have somebody locally to enter that market with. It just makes the barriers to entry a lot less difficult. That somebody is dealing with a local in many cases. For example, if a hotelier comes to Antigua or comes to St. Kitts Nevis, they have to work with a local firm. That has to be the mentality, the established practices, that you can't just say, well, you know, I'm gonna go and try, because the minute you hit that first hurdle, you'll get discouraged. A lot of it is psychology, right? So you need to put yourself in a position to win. We have to be intentional with decisions that we make. Now, I want to jump on a comment that Colin said about sometimes you have to be professional.
I just saw that too.
Yeah, being professional doesn't necessarily get you anywhere. I'll say to
it does.
I'll say to this, it's not about them though. That means they just weren't the right fit for you. It's about you and the brand you're developing. When I developed my wealth management company, I had a partner and our visions didn't align. You know, because I was trying to be strategic. I wanted to get rid of a competitor. So I was like, I brought her into my firm, but we remained stagnant for a long time because our visions didn't align. Her way of doing things were very different than mine. I wanted to build a brand. I wanted brand recognition. I wanted, when you heard my company name, you associated this with a certain level of value. And if you're a client that comes in and you don't get that, then I don't need to be working with you, right? If you don't get what we're selling, I'm not just selling, because anybody could do what we do. If you have expertise, but what makes us different is the value add, the brand that you project. So Colin, it's not about them, it's about you. Yep. And the more professionalism you display, trust me, you're gonna hit that stride, and then you're gonna get multiple referrals, because in these businesses, it's a referral business. It is directly a referral business. It's your talent, it's who you know, it's the network you've developed, it's that pipeline that you've laid. So come correct, you know, in many cases. You know, I remember I used to do promotions in Anguilla. I was trying to raise money to go to school in 05. I would have all these events and I would get like alcohol when Alizé, Blue Alizé first came to the region. I got a case and I had this party and then I hired a DJ, right? And back then, you know, you have contracts, blah, 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 blah. Why is it my DJ left the event in the middle because he thought he could get money at another gig? He sent one of his people out. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to pay you because you didn't deliver the service that you got. And he had a lesson right away on how to be a professional. You know what I mean? So these are the things we have to deal with. We have to be a lot more intentional in our approach, in our investment. And we have to stop celebrating mediocrity.
Yes.
I see how I do photography and I'm not a professional, but I've had my work displayed in galleries around the world. And I look at social media and photographers back in the region and they have 20,000 followers. And I'm like, your work is crap. Your work is crap. Like, how do you have all these followers? Because we have a culture of celebrating mediocrity. So that way people don't get better. There's no need to invest in yourself because the market tells you you're great.
The local market. Be specific. The local market.
But we're only in the local market. you're not in the regional map. We have OACS CARICOM, but yet how many of our music producers have their music in other countries, right? Outside of a little radio play now and then. How many music videos is playing on ABS or whatever other station, right? Tempo came in and we thought Tempo would be the savior.
I met that guy.
Listen, Tempo, I love Tempo, yes.
Like
Right.
really small world. I have met the guy who created Tempo.
Okay, there you go. But what did Tempo really do for our artists? Nothing. It did nothing for them. Cool. Francois, you had some other finance.
Right. I had another question. The one of them, because Eldonie S, Miss Mason said it, you just said it, and I remember Lawson, because he's on. He was also a professor with doing photography and some cinematography. So my question to you, Dr. Martin, is management, business management, money management. Shouldn't that be taught within the schools? Because I noticed that is something that is not taught at all in the schools.
So some context, I wrote the curriculum for the personal finance class in high schools in Texas. So now it's optional class, and I've worked in this space, but every student at some point will be exposed to it. Regionally, we have a public that is financially illiterate. We don't understand money. And the thing is, you could actually see it now with a lot of the Ponzi schemes that are rampant. It's like people don't learn, right? The Ponzi schemes, the pyramid schemes, like I'm seeing now our regulatory commissions, for example, in St. Kitts are putting out notices, and I'm like, where were you for the past 20 years when people were being
Yeah, I hear them talking about forex, yes.
What are the people that got screwed the last time on the Bitcoin scam? You go and put money in again because you think this time it's going to be different. It's the same people selling you the same product and same pipe dreams. So I think in terms of putting it in the classes, we could be intentional. I'll give you an example. I went to a certain minister of government, not in my country, in St. Kitts, and I was like, I want to develop this course. I want to develop a personal finance course. It's online. We could roll it out to all the high schools. We could get it to locals. And I just need some help. I need somebody. I need to get some voiceover. I wasn't even looking for compensation for me. And you know why? Because I'm doing this for free. Well, not free. I'm getting paid, obviously, as a professor. But I also do engagements in the community, and I'm doing it for them. I'm not monetizing this. So a part of my service requirement, I was in the community. So I go to my country, and I'm like, I want to do this to give back. You know what the man can tell me? Build it and then send it on. So I must take all the financial cost. I must make all the investment. You're the one leading your people. You can't see the value in investing in your people, right? So you know what I did? I'm doing it on my own. I'm not doing it for them. So like actually tomorrow I have a virtual, I call it financial adulting, right? And I have like 50 people on a call tomorrow. And I did one in Antigua. I told you about that in 2018. I did one in St. Lucia in 2019. So it's, let me see how, I was in a meeting of bankers and the question was asked, what are the challenges to financial literacy? Because that's what you're asking me, all right? And I said, banks. I was at a table of bankers.
You said that?
I said, you are the problem, because guess what? If you have a financially literate public, banks can't profit. Okay? If you have a financially literate public population, the banks cannot profit the way that they do. Okay? I could teach you how to pay off your mortgage in 7 years. I could teach you how to, in the US, grow your credit score by 100 points in a month by never reducing your balance, right? Information is critical. You give the audience enough to know, just enough to get by, but not enough to grow and develop. Right? So money management, it should be taught. We should be from elementary, put it in math problems, right? Instead of talking about widgets and apples, frame it from an entrepreneurship perspective, because guess what? There's nothing you want to do in this world. There's no goal you want to have that does not have a financial implication. Everything we choose to do has a financial implication. If you're volunteering, it costs you money. Okay? If you want to get healthy and go for a walk, it costs you money because you're going to wear down your shoes. Eventually, you have to replace it. Every goal has a financial implication. So we need to be strategic with it. We need to maybe have like groups after school. Kids should be taught more. I think we could use, our curriculum needs to be changed. I think we need to be look at the world and realize that now we are our marketplace, the competition is wider. If you look at Antigua, the benefit you guys have, you have a new university there, right? But will they have such a course? No, maybe not. I could tell you so many stories about, and I'll give you this one example. In Ivy League universities, top tier universities that are predominantly white, financial education is a core class. In poor universities that are predominantly minority, financial education, the people that decides, the curriculum committee decides it can't be there. Not just on the university level, usually on the state level. So the rich schools have it, the poor schools don't. So you could understand what's happening.
Wow. Wow. I was thinking that, what if I am strong with, I'm looking on, they have SWOT analysis. If my strength is so strong with cinematography or photography, but then business management may not be my strength, and I'm a teacher, then the best thing for me to do is have someone
do it.
Okay.
Have someone do it. The rule of thumb is this: if the marginal benefit outweighs the marginal cost, you should take the decision. It's a simple calculation. By marginal benefit, I'm meaning for that extra dollar of cost, right? If it saves you time and allows you to focus on your creative element, then that's a benefit to you, and you could quantify that benefit. Okay, so the rule of thumb when making a decision to hire a professional, if the benefit of doing it outweighs the cost of doing it, that's when you should do it. Actually, that's the decision for life. If the benefit of being married outweighs the cost of being married, stay married. People get divorced because the marginal cost is greater than the marginal benefit. It's simple decision making. So if you can't do it, hire somebody else, otherwise it will be done to you. The whole concept of if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, same thing, right? So like a forum like this definitely adds value because you fill knowledge gaps, but at the same time, if you want to, you're great with film, but you don't understand the business, then talk to a business consultant and try to work out an arrangement that doesn't hurt you financially, it helps you financially. Mm-hmm. View it as a sunk cost. It's all about how we frame the conversation and reframe the engagement.
Okay. I have a question for Miss Mason. This is an example of a contract that I received. And
so Francois, could I just ask a quick question here?
Sure.
So Dr. Martin, okay, so you just mentioned about hiring a professional if you can see the benefit and it outweighs the cost of it. For us in the region here, let's say if I'm a filmmaker, I don't necessarily understand or want to deal with the business side of it. I don't think there are lots of professionals here that deal with management of filmmaking, what can I do in a case like that? Because I could think of let's say going outside the region, let's say going to the US, find someone who does that, but then they might not know our local market here or be able to market to the region. So what happens in a case like that?
So I'll say this, and I alluded to this earlier. So Ms. Mason, as an attorney, there are a lot of specifics to the industry. Also on the business management side, there are a lot of specifics to the industry. The thing about a developing industry, it's kind of easier to manage because there are not a lot of established rules and regulations and processes. The thing is, if you sometimes we get overly complicated and overly complex. Business is business. You're in it to make money. You're able to identify your goals. The business manager should be able to help you to develop a pathway to achieve those goals. It has to be a team approach, right? So on the legal element, for example, as a filmmaker, you want to get your movie into Caribbean cinemas. As a business manager, I can't give you the contractual advice. That's where Ms. Mason comes in. but I could help you with the pricing of the product. Does that make sense? I could sit down with you and say, hey, Colin, this was your outflow to create the project. This is how much our forecasted sales are going to be. We're going to work out and say, hey, if you're going to take this, you need to at least make a 15% return, just throwing out numbers there. So to make a 15% return, this is how much we need to break even. You understand what I'm saying? There's simple things we could put in place to give you a guideline, right? Because this is still a developing space. So nobody is going to go out and focus on entertainment. Ms. Mason is the second entertainment lawyer that I know. And both of them are in the US. The other one is my cousin. She used to work for Bad Boy. She tried to do her thing back home. She ended up staying in the US. She works on a lot of trademarking and copyright right now work. Very similar spaces y'all are in. I should connect you. So, but when you're in that space, it's so expensive to operate home, dude. It's so expensive. But you understand, you need a lot of small businesses in the region. They don't know how to draft financial statements. Right? So if you go to a bank for a loan, the first thing they do, they try to establish your debt to income, and they're going to tell you what your debt to income is instead of you telling them, because you don't know any better. Right? So there's some basic fundamental principles for business that could still be applied without the specifics to that industry. And when the specifics to that industry comes in, then we have to then include a team approach, get with the legal minds like Ms. Mason, and get with, you understand, to sort of move things forward where there might be a deficiency. It's the same thing in wealth management. I work with a healthcare worker who has a different space versus a teacher, right? The guidelines are very different, but at the end of the day, the core is the same. The core practices, the core decision making is the same regardless of where you are. But you have to know, there's some things that we need to know, like what's a good return on investment in entertainment. You have to do your research on that. And I could then gauge that to tell you, like, this is where you are, how far you are from it and what you need and things like that.
When you look at the regular banks, and I'm so sure others may want to comment on it too, but I know I have gone to majority of the banks just to ask one question. What do you have for film finances for filmmakers? They're looking at me as if I'm speaking a foreign language, and they're telling me about car loans, mortgages. I'm like, no.
Because
film financing is different.
They're giving you things that have collateral, things that they could take back if you default. All right. So you're in again, we got to realize where we are. We're in a developing space without any true proven returns. All right. So you're asking a financial institution with a profit motive whose only goal is to maximize their shareholder wealth. It's not to satisfy customers, it's to maximize shareholder wealth. It's not about helping you achieve your dreams, it's to maximize shareholder wealth. It's not about you, it's a profit company, a for-profit company. So you have to go in there and communicate how you're going to pay them back money and pay them back that interest, because obviously their payment include a return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
So now this corporation is saying that, hey, we could help you with some of the challenges, but yet they're still not communicating how. How is this? This is the first time I'm hearing about something like this. Where are their commercials and their billboards and their pamphlets? And there's so many people. Like this guy that I told you got into the ABFF, and he did one in Europe as well. He did this over 4 years because he didn't have money. So now this guy is saying he has a pot of money that could help people, but how valuable is it if you're not making it accessible? You understand what I'm saying? I ain't knocking the man, I'm knocking the process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm knocking the process. So they need to come out with clear communication. How are you eligible? What are the requirements? And go from there. Give people an opportunity. Because right now, it's grants. You know, Grenada started a film festival. I think Belize did. I was trying to do some research, you know, on the OECS level. Why don't we have our own film festival promoting the cultural and the arts? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, why is it? We don't need to just go up to the US or go to Europe. Yeah, they're bigger markets, but you have to win in your small pond first. India didn't just look in India. Bollywood, they kind of took the best of Hollywood and kept their culture. They created their own space. Like every country has an entertainment industry that creates millionaires and big artists, even in many cases, bigger actresses than the US. But if you want broader exposure, you come to the country like the US to give you that distribution arm. But why don't we develop our own industry still? If he wants to help, why doesn't he create a grant, a fund, or say he's gonna fund a film festival, right? But the thing about the World Bank is they're not gonna give money unless a criteria is met. So let's establish what this criteria is and stop this complication, you know, like tell people how to access this and get the money out there so they could use it and benefit. That's my thought. That really irks me, but
okay, so I have a question. This is for Miss Mason, right? This is actually an example of a contract that I received from an agent. Governing law. This agreement shall be governed by and interpreted under the laws of the state of California, US, irrespective of any applicable principles of conflicts of laws. By the execution of this agreement, purchaser hereby consent to the jurisdiction of the courts of the state of California in connection with any dispute or obligation hereunder, and further agrees that venue shall only be proper in Los Angeles, California. Purchaser further agrees that any judgment entered in any state of the state of California associated with this agreement
Wait. Any state of the state of California?
Yep.
California is a single state. What kind of bubble contract is
that? Okay. All right.
That's not even legit, but anyways.
But this is what I don't get, right? When I saw this in the contract, I was like, really? Then I'm like, so why should your laws be governed? What happened to Antigua and Barbuda laws? And I remember when I gave the contract to one of my lawyer friends, that's the first thing. What happened to the Antiguan laws? Is it not applicable?
Okay, so I'm not going to give legal advice. I'm just saying, because, you know, I don't give random legal advice unless the sister's getting paid. But I'll tell you in a general sense, is that when I draft contracts, I'm contracting where my client is, because if there's a dispute, I don't want my client to have to chase people around the country, around the world to enforce the agreement. It's called leverage and bargaining power. My media company that I started, and I contract the Antigua illustrator, guess where, if he has an issue with me, he has to sue me? In New Jersey, because that's where I am. That's where my company is based. So it's not that Antigua law per se is not applicable. You're not the one giving the contract. You know, if you were contracting with a US person to do work for you, then you could literally tell them, hey, if anything happened, I'm suing you in Antigua and you're agreeing to Antigua laws and jurisdiction for me to sue you there. And then we'll use, like, you know, international treaties and all that stuff to, like, come to the US and then enforce it against them if they're trying to skip out. But that's how it works. It's whoever, the person that's contracting, the person with the bargaining power, and generally that's who's going to call the shots on the choice of law. And I do it all the time. I could be contracting with somebody, again, in Antigua, you're suing me here. If I have a problem with you, I'm suing you here. If my New York, New Jersey, or Florida clients, which is where I'm barred, is doing business somewhere else in the country, I'm suiting our lawsuits in one of those 3 states, because that's where the client is. So people from California, once to sue my client, got to come on their home turf. It's called like home court advantage kind of thing. You know? You don't want to be, the thing is with that contract, although I don't know what's going on with that clause with any state within California, that part is bogus, because California is a single state. So I don't know, they probably got it off the internet and they had some typos and they never fixed it, which is what a lot of people do because they don't want to pay for legal. It's all right because I ain't care. Like, you don't have my money, then go do that and then somebody sue you. But that's why it's not a problem that, Antigua law is not going to apply because they're the controller of the contract. So they could do that. And you'll never get a contract from a US company that you're doing business with that's going to ever say Antigua law governs. because the U.S. lawyers have no clue about Antigua law, and they have no clue how Antigua courts operate. They would never give up the territorial, control to say, hey, I'll come sue you in Antigua because that's where you are. No, I'm suing you over here, and then I'll bring the judgment to Antigua to enforce it.
Oh, okay. Because it's a norm that we like to bring down overseas guests, be for for all sort of reasons.
But when you're doing it, yes, like if you in Antigua are sending out a contract to somebody overseas, you could tell them, if you have a dispute, you're resolving it in Antigua because you're the master of the agreement. But when I'm sending you an agreement, I'm the master of the agreement, and I'm the one with the leverage. I'm telling you, we're resolving it over here.
Right. So let me ask then. So does that apply to producers that want to film here in Antigua? Because we're offering the whole shebang. So who do the contract? We do the contract, or they? So their laws will still apply because hey, they come. Yeah.
All right. So let me tell you right now about when you're like, just in general film production, right? This is the thing. This is how I always tell people. If you're the producer, it's your project. Even if you're bringing on other people, whoever is the one that's controlling the project should be the one handing out contracts. Because this way, you master what's in the agreements and you set the narrative and the tone about how the deal is getting done. Like if I'm producing this project, I'm not waiting, I'm bringing on people. They're not bringing and giving me their contracts. I'm giving them my contract because this is my project. You're coming into my show. Okay, not the other way around. So if you're bringing in producers to work on your project with you and it's your project, you're the one handing out all the agreements. You control the narrative. You don't let people give you some random agreement. No, because it's your project. Right. If your guests, like if they're bringing you onto their project, okay, then let them give you an agreement. But yeah, I see that in the independent community all the time. It's like you guys are cheap. Like they don't want, I'll let them draft the contract. Why? It's your project. Why are you waiting for somebody to do it for you? And besides, that's a thing that would kill, like, for me, projects shouldn't start unless you have things in writing. Because especially with copyright law, how it works in the US. And I can't defer to Antigua copyright law because I've never looked at the thing. But how it works is that whoever creates the content is the author and the owner. And copyright could only be transferred in writing. There was a big case a few years back where this producer made a film and it turned out to be like an anti-Semitic film. And this woman was an actress and she did not know it was going to be that. And she got the world of hate email and bashed on social media and all this crazy stuff. And people were threatening her lives and she sued to say she never give right to use her name and likeness and all this stuff, and he didn't have it, so he's infringing on her rights and had to take the movie down. And then in the same vein, she tried to register copyright. It was a hot mess. And at one point, the lower courts had agreed with the woman, and Hollywood was like this on pins and needles, because how the heck you make a movie and you don't have the contract that gives you the rights to the actor's performance,
right?
And then they did some smoke and mirrors in the court and says, hey, there's a part in the copyright law that says if you're contributing to a complete whole, then the copyright kind of merged. But that was like a dodge the bullet moment. This is why, if it's your project, you're responsible for the agreements and make sure they're done right. Don't wait on someone to send it to you.
Okay. All right. This has been a fantastic discussion today. I'm being honest because we could go on and on and on. I mean, there's so much. We have
to do a part 2 at another time because it's been 2 hours. I actually got some stuff I need to get.
Yeah, we have to do a part 2, definitely. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for everyone that participated. And we will be in touch. We will be in touch, everyone, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.